Welcome to Ancient Stories in English. I speak slowly. I speak clearly. This story is for you to listen, to understand, and to think. But first, a warning. If you know Sun Wukong from television, forget that version for now. The Monkey King on TV is colorful, exciting. A hero who fights monsters and protects the innocent. The journey ends, everyone is rewarded, good wins, evil loses. That is one version of the story. This is not that version. This is the world of Black Myth Wukong, a modern retelling from China. Darker, more honest, more brutal. In this world, the monsters are not always evil, the gods are not always good, and the line between hero and prisoner is very, very thin. This is a story about power, about control, about a creature who was born outside the system, and what the system did to him because of it. His name is Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. You think you know him? You don't. Not yet. A long time ago, the sky was broken. There was a goddess named Nuwa. She looked up and saw cracks, damage so deep it threatened to destroy everything. So she melted stone. She shaped it into blocks. And she repaired the sky piece by piece. Nas created 36,501 stones to repair the sky. She used 36,500. One stone had no place, no purpose, no function in the design. So it sat alone on a mountain called Huaguo, Flower Fruit Mountain. For thousands of years, that stone absorbed everything, the energy of the sky, the heat of the sun, the cold of the moon, the slow, quiet power of the earth beneath it. And then, one day, it cracked open. From inside came a monkey. No father, no mother, no creator god who designed him with a purpose. No heaven that claimed him, no temple that owned him. He simply existed. And this is the first thing you must understand about Sun Wukong. He was not made by the system. He was not born into the system. He came from something older, something that existed before any system was built. That one leftover stone, the piece that did not fit. In a world where everything has a place, everything has an owner, everything has a function, Wukong had none of those things. And that was a very serious problem. Now, let us talk about the world Wukong was born into. There are two great powers in this world. The first is heaven, Tianting, a vast bureaucracy in the sky, with ranks, titles, rules, and armies. It controls the weather, it controls time. It controls who lives, who dies, and who gets recorded in the Book of Life and Death. Heaven presents itself as the natural order, the way things should be. Obey heaven and you will be protected. The second power is Lingshan, the spirit mountain, home of the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas. A place of enlightenment, compassion, and holy scripture, it presents itself as the path to peace, to freedom from suffering. Follow the teachings, and you will be saved. Two systems, both powerful, both ancient. But here is what this world shows us about them. They do not openly fight each other. They maintain a careful distance. They do not interfere in each other's internal affairs. On the surface, they coexist. But underneath, there are moves being made, quiet ones, populations destroyed without announcement, political pieces placed on the board without explanation. Each system expanding its influence, carefully, slowly, while smiling at the other across the table. And both systems share one thing, one mechanism that keeps them strong: fear. When people are afraid of demons, of chaos, of the unknown, they pray. They offer, they worship, they give their loyalty to whoever promises protection. So ask yourself, who benefits when there is always something to be afraid of? Now you understand the world. A world with rules, with ranks, with a carefully maintained order. And then there is Wukong. He learned fast. He traveled across the ocean to find a teacher. He trained for years. He mastered 72 transformations. Not just shape-shifting, but the ability to rewrite his own nature, to become anything, to exist outside the boundaries of what he was supposed to be. He pulled a pillar from the bottom of the ocean and made it his weapon, A staff so heavy no creature in the sea could move it. To Wukong, it was light as a branch. He entered the underworld and crossed his name out of the book of life and death. No record, no expiration date, no end scheduled. He survived being thrown into a furnace for 49 days. The fire was supposed to destroy him. Instead, it burned away every weakness. He came out sharper, stronger, with eyes that could see through any illusion. Every system has one assumption at its core. Everything ends. Everything can be controlled. Everything has a limit. Wukong broke all three. But here is the part that truly terrified them. He did not want their power. He did not want their gold, their titles, their heaven. A man who wants something, you can negotiate. A man who fears something, you can threaten. But Wukong wanted nothing from them. He feared nothing they had. When he stormed heaven, the armies sent to stop him were not enough. Not because heaven was weak, but because those sent did not expect to fight something with no ceiling and no fear. And when he stood in the great hall and screamed, "I am the great sage, equal to heaven," he was not making a threat. He was making a diagnosis. The system had never encountered an input it could not process. Until now. Wukong was not a villain in their story. He was a variable they had no formula for. An error, unresolvable, uncontainable. And the system had only one response to an error it could not delete. Find another way to close the program. You cannot beat a storm with a sword. You cannot arrest a wildfire. You cannot negotiate with an earthquake. Raw power against raw power. Heaven had learned that lesson the hard way. So the system changed its approach. The first trap came from Lingshan. When heaven could not resolve the situation, they did not escalate. They outsourced. The Buddha Rulai was invited in, and Rulai did not come with an army. He came with a bet. Simple, elegant, perfectly designed for the specific weakness of Sun Wukong. If you can jump out of my palm, you win. Heaven is yours. Wukong looked at that open hand and saw an easy victory. He was the fastest creature alive. One somersault, 108,000 li. A distance so vast it crosses an entire continent. In a single jump, he leapt. He flew to the edge of what he thought was the universe. He saw 5 great pillars and marked them to prove he had been there. He flew back, landed, and announced his victory. Rulai turned his hand over. The 5 pillars were Rulai's fingers. Wukong had never left the palm. 500 years under a mountain of stone. This was not a battle. It was a mirror held up to Wukong's pride, his certainty, his absolute confidence in his own power. The trap was not physical. It was built from the truest thing about him and turned against him. The second trap came later, quieter, more intimate. A bodhisattva came to the monk Xuanzang. She did not go to Wukong directly. She went to the one Wukong had chosen to protect. She gave Xuanzang a golden hoop, small, beautiful, harmless-looking, and she told him exactly what to do, exactly what to say. Xuanzang waited for the right moment. Then he offered it to Wukong, not as a command, not as a contract, as something warm, something that belonged between a master and his disciple. Wukong put it on. The moment it touched his head, it tightened. And Xuanzang had been given something else alongside the hoop. A spell, short words, easy to recite. When Wukong disobeyed, when he acted outside what the system permitted, Xuanzang would recite those words, and the hoop would contract, crushing, relentless. Pain so complete it dropped the most powerful creature in the world face first into the dirt. No weapon. No army. Just a monk, a spell, and a piece of gold wrapped around the skull of something that could not die, but could be made to wish it could. From that day forward, Wukong was controllable. Not because he became weaker, not because he stopped being what he was, but because the system had found the one thing that worked better than a cage. Something inside the cage that he would never destroy himself. The first trap used his pride. The second trap used his loyalty. And both traps came from the same place. Not heaven, not an open enemy. Lingshan. The system that wore the face of compassion, that spoke the language of liberation, that handed a monk a golden hoop and called it a teaching tool. The enemy you do not guard against is the one who brings the chain while calling it a gift. 14 years, 81 trials. Every mountain had something waiting. Every river hid something beneath. Every face of kindness concealed a test or a trap. And Wukong fought. Every single time. But notice something. The monsters with powerful backers, with connections to heaven or Lingshan, were never truly defeated. Every time Wukong cornered one, a god would descend. A bodhisattva would appear. Calm voice, gentle hands. Please, this one belongs to me. I will take it back. And the monster would leave. Not in chains, not in disgrace, but returned, recycled, back to its owner. These creatures had value. They had political connections. They had someone to vouch for them. Wukong's brothers on Flower Fruit Mountain had none of that. No divine patron, no celestial paperwork, no one to descend and say, these ones belong to someone. They were free, truly free, owned by no system. And so they were erased. By the time Wukong reached the end of the road, by the time the scriptures were retrieved and the mission declared complete, he was given his reward. A title, a seat, a place in the great hierarchy. Victorious fighting Buddha. The error had been resolved. The variable had been given a definition. The system had found a box and placed him inside it. From the outside, it looked like enlightenment. From the inside, Wukong went home to Flower Fruit Mountain and found a graveyard. The system did not announce what it had done. There was no declaration, no justification, just absence. The mountain was quiet in a way it had never been quiet before. This was the final message, delivered not in words but in silence. You can have a title, you can have peace, you can have a place in our world. But the things you loved, the things that belong to no one, those do not get to exist. That is the price of integration. Wukong understood something that took 500 years to learn. You cannot fight a system from inside a cage. And you cannot fight it from the outside once they have put your name in their books, given you their title, seated you at their table. The moment you accept the reward, you become part of what you wanted to destroy. So he did not fight. He planned. There was one being in all of heaven and earth that Wukong trusted enough for what came next. Not a monk, not a student, not someone who loved him. Someone who had fought him. Erlung Shen, young Jian, the warrior with the third eye, who had once matched Wukong blow for blow, transformation for transformation. Two forces that understood each other completely because they had tried to destroy each other completely. Between them, no illusions, no politics, just clarity. Together they designed something careful. A second great disturbance, a performance. Wukong would appear to lose control again, to threaten heaven again, and this time he would lose. Visibly. Finally, the system would see what it wanted to see. The error, conclusively terminated. And in that moment of apparent defeat, Wukong died, by design. His body did not disappear, it fractured, split into 6 pieces, 6 relics corresponding to the 6 senses. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. 5 could be scattered, hidden across the world, waiting. The 6th, the mind, memory. Everything Wukong had seen, understood, and refused to forget was given to Yang Jian to keep. Because memory is the most dangerous thing in any system. Facts can be rewritten, history can be erased, but a living witness who carries the truth inside his eye, that is harder to neutralize. The system looked at the outcome and saw closure. The error was gone, the disturbance was over, order restored. What they did not see, what they were not supposed to see, was the condition built into the plan. One day, someone would come, strong enough to walk through all 6 realms, strong enough to collect all 6 relics, and strong enough, finally, to defeat Yang Jian himself. Only then would the memory return. Only then would the full truth of what the system had done be passed on to someone who had earned the right to carry it. Not a chosen one, not a prophecy. A test, designed by the only 2 beings who had ever truly understood each other in that world. The system thought it had ended something. It had only changed the form. The Destined One collects the relics. He walks through 6 realms. He fights what waits in each one. He does not know the full story yet, only that something was broken here, something was taken, something is waiting to be restored. And at the end, he stands in front of Yang Jian, the warrior who kept the memory, who waited, who guarded the truth for however long it took. They fight, and if the Destined One wins, he receives everything, every memory, every wound, every moment the system thought it had erased. Then comes the choice. Yang Jian holds out the golden headband, the same one, still warm from 10,000 years of control. Put it on, and the cycle completes. A new Wukong, a new error, identified, contained, and slowly integrated. The system survives, order is maintained. Refuse and walk away with nothing but the truth. No title, no protection, no place in any hierarchy, just free. Now look at the 2 systems in this story. They have no permanent name. They wear different clothes in different centuries. Sometimes they are temples. Sometimes they are governments. Sometimes they are institutions that speak the language of salvation, of protection, of order, of peace. The mechanism is always the same. Create the fear, provide the answer, collect the devotion. And the ones who are most dangerous to them are never the ones with armies. They are the ones born from leftover stone, the ones who are never supposed to exist, the ones who look at a golden hoop and ask, "Who made this, and why do they need me to wear it?" Wukong is gone now, scattered, waiting. The mountain where his brothers lived is quiet. The system is still running. And somewhere, there is a stone that does not belong to anyone. The question is not what Wukong would do if he came back. The question is simpler than that. Do you know which one you are? The system or the stone?